brothers Vlad and Radu, sons of the former Vlachian Prince Vlad II, grew up in the Ottoman court as princely hostages, educated in the same Muslim spirit as their friend, young Mehmed II, the future Ottoman Sultan. As he matured, Vlad served with distinction with the elite Janissaries and was praised for his soldierly qualities. But his roughness and fearless resistance to becoming a Muslim made him subject to brutal punishments. Vlad hasn't forgotten this, even years after he deserted the Ottoman court to join the Hungarian ranks. Wishing to dominate the last increment of the Danube River, the Crescent of Islam clashes with the Cross of Christianity at Belgrade in July of 1456. Led by Sultan Mehmed II, the Ottomans are defeated and forced to make a humiliating retreat. But after years of conflict, the Hungarian army also suffers great losses in men and materials. This creates a window of opportunity for young Vlad. Placed in charge of protecting the Transylvanian border by the Hungarian king, Vlad uses his position to exploit the military power vacuum and marches into Vlachia ahead of a small mercenary force. But is soon opposed by the incumbent Vladislav II near Targshaw. The two leaders agree to decide the battle with a knightly duel. And amidst cheers from the two armies, Vlad wins the duel and kills Vladislav. He then proceeds to march unopposed into the Vlachian capital of Targoviste. There he crowns himself as Voivode of Vlachia in August 1456. His divine right to the throne is confirmed the following night by a spectacular comet in the night sky. Wasting no time, Vlad hires his own uniformed mercenary army and moves to consolidate his power and reform the country. He enforces taxes on the boyars who were previously all but free from taxation. Furthermore, he eliminates those plotting to kill him, going after powerful boyars responsible for the killing of his father and brother. Their estates are confiscated and given to the peasants who, in exchange, are to be trained during post-harvest months for military service. Vlad rids Vlachia of people who pollute the land. Thieves are impaled, beggars, homeless and the plague-infested are burned alive in barns. In Vlad's opinion, they depart earthly sufferings for a better afterlife. He further centralizes his realm by building fortresses and churches and expands the capital of Targoviste and other cities. He also creates a princely order by naming the best soldiers Vitaz, meaning brave. These knights become the new nobility who support only Vlad Cepes. He undertakes road construction to enhance domestic and international trade revenue. He gives subsidies to handymen to open their businesses and encourages the middle class with partial tax exemption. Installs custom posts at the borders, forcing foreign merchants to pay taxes when travelling through or doing business in Vlachia, which greatly enriches the treasury. For all intents and purposes, Vlad rules his realm with confidence and an iron fist, and he soon goes after his rivals. By 1458, Vlachian army begins raiding Saxon-dominated Transylvania, bringing carnage to communities which shelter many of Vlad's rivals to the crown. He orders suspected traitors to be impaled in full view of residents and attempts to burn the monumental Black Church of Brasov. He also regains possession of Bran Castle, once owned by his grandfather. Needless to say, by 1460 the Saxon establishment in Transylvania is furious, but their bitter complaints about Vlad's cruelty fall on the deaf ears of King Matthias. The unhappy merchants seek their own justice by deciding to eliminate the Vlachian voivode and replace him with Dan III, one of the men behind the murder of Vlad's father and brother. But it soon proves to be a doomed venture as Vlad gets word of their operation and ambushes their army. Again, rising to the occasion, Vlad Cepes humiliates Dan III in a spectacular duel. Then he forces him to dig his own grave in full view of his men before he is decapitated and his followers impaled. Further raids into duchies which refused Vlad's rule lead to the massacre of tens of thousands of civilians. And by now, the greatly displeased King Matthias realizes that his Transylvanian province is threatened. An agreement is reached with Vlad Tzepes. The Saxons agree to return all of Vlad's rivals and dissidents, pay 15,500 forints and supply soldiers. In exchange, Vlad promises to stop the Ottomans from entering Transylvania. With most of his rivals dead and his northwestern border secured, the Vlachian voivode projects his power further by building a new Vlachian capital closer to the Danube. Located in the marshes of the Dâmbovița River, Bucharest is surrounded by natural moats, infested with leeches, snakes and mosquitoes, good natural deterrents for any invading army. From his new capital, Vlad Tzepes hopes to unite all Vlachs into one kingdom and, confident of his power, he provides military aid to Prince Stefan, who is attempting to take the throne of Moldavia, dutifully keeping his oath of loyalty he'd given to his cousin. In response to Vlad's collaboration with Stefan, a fast-moving Ottoman force embarks on a campaign of pillage and rape in southern Vlachia. After their raid, the Ottoman retreat is slowed by the plunder and prisoners, and before they can reach the Danube, the Ottomans are intercepted by Vlad's cavalry. Only a few Turks live to cross the Danube and tell the tale. Considering the Ottoman raid to be a violation of the treaty he has with Sultan Mehmed, Vlad refuses to pay yearly tribute and to pledge vassalage. Now he faces the mighty Ottoman army, but he hopes that the crusade called by Pope Pius against the Ottomans will relieve some of the pressure on Vlachia. But with European kingdoms embroiled in intrigue and warfare against each other, hardly anyone commits to the Christian cause, and by 1461, the Pope's call for a crusade rings hollow. Left to face the Ottomans alone, Vlad agrees to pay tribute and send young boys to be trained as janissaries. Around this time, one of Vlad's most trusted and valuable allies, Mihai Ciulei, is captured in Bulgaria by the Ottomans. Considered to be a spy, he is brought to Constantinople, where he is tortured and eventually sawed in half. Soon after, a 10,000-strong Ottoman contingent enters Vlachia to collect the tribute and the new recruits, led by the commander of Nicopolis, Hamza Pasha. Seeing the large force, Vlad suspects that Hamza's real mission is to capture him. The Vlachian voivode reacts and attacks the approaching Ottoman contingent with full force, decimating them down to a man. He impales thousands of dead Turks around Targoviste and sends Hamza's head in a jar to King Matthias as proof of the Vlachian commitment to fight the Ottomans. But despite this, he receives no reply and no help from the Hungarian king. Vlad spends the rest of 1461 training his army for war and fortifies Bucharest with heavy palisades and brick bastions, installing cannons along the fortification perimeter. Aware that Mehmed's armies are fighting in Anatolia, Vlad prepares to raid Ottoman territory. And in early 1462, while en route to cross the frozen Danube, Vlachian cavalry stops not far from Giurgiu, one of the strongest heavily fortified northern Ottoman military bases. Dressed as a high-ranking Ottoman official ahead of his entourage, Vlad Tzepes approaches the fortress on a snowy day and, speaking in perfect Turkish, orders the garrison commander to open the gates. The sentries let him in, believing he must be an important official as he is travelling with many bodyguards. Upon entering, Vlad's men silence the sentries and open the gates wide for the rest of the Vlachian cavalry to rush in and take over the fortress. They slaughter the Ottoman garrison and set their quarters ablaze after looting them. What followed next would fuel the legend of Vlad the Impaler. Over the next 2 weeks, his cavalrymen engage in raids that cover 800 kilometers along the frozen Danube all the way to the Black Sea. Aiming to destroy bridgeheads that the Ottomans might use to cross the Vlachia, Vlad's army sacks Ottoman and other non-Christian settlements on the Bulgarian Danube riverbank and continues to raid south into Ottoman territory over the next few months. For the Vlachs living in Bulgaria since Dacian times, these are blessed days. At least for a time, they regain their freedom from the Ottoman yoke. Countless numbers of them join the fight, either seeking revenge or because they believe in Vlad's mission. The news spreads like wildfire about the carnage left in the wake of Vlad's mini-crusade. The Vlachian voivode now hopes that more Christians will rally to his banner to fight off the mighty Ottomans.